PreMarket Prep at the close. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Luke Jacobi with you. Joel, give us a quick recap on this market. We talked about it this morning on the show. It was kind of a quieter pre-market session, and we're just steadily marching higher, I guess.
Yeah, we ended up opening 28.49. Was hoping for it to come into the highs from Thursday and Friday at the 28.38 level. Couldn't quite get there. Bull stepped up at 43.75, turned it around. It took a little while to get through the pre-market high, but once we got through 28.65, we have cleared the high from last week at 28.75 and a half. We are less than 10 points away from the high of the rebound. That's your 6-day high at 28.85. And in order to make a high close to the rebound, which we're in good shape right now, we need to close above 28.70. They started selling crude from that opening bell last night, putting restrictions on the June contract for liquidation only. So you have the June contract down 22.5% at 13.11. Hit a low of 11.88. You do see the July and August and September contracts getting a haircut as well, but not nearly as much as that June contract. Gold in the red by 9.10. Pretty tight range for gold, $25 range. Silver buck in the trend. Silver going the other way, up 5.2 cents at 15.30 and a half. And Bitcoin this morning, it was zeroing in on 8,000. The best they could do is 7,905.
So,
And
Luke, I was going to bring you in here, but I wanted to get your thoughts, unless you had thoughts on Bitcoin. But, Luke, I wanted to ask you about just this overall market here, and what do you make of the relative calmness in markets right now?
so this is actually a question I was going to kick over to Joel and ask, as we're approaching this high of the rebound, what are you watching out for?
I'm just looking for continuing closing highs of the move. We had that fluff a week ago Friday where we closed at 28.70. We backed off there, but this is like a real sustained rally into that high. It looks like we're going to close at or near it. So if we close above that 28.70, boom, today's close will be a very important level to me. And then I'll go to your dailies, and your next daily high doesn't come into 2904.75. So, the intraday action is important. I love to concentrate on the highs and lows, but it's really the closes, that print, that everyone's marked on in stocks and commodities or whatever you're trading. That's the most important thing. So I'll be keen on today's close, wherever it is. And anywhere above 28.70, that'll be a new high, closing high for the move.
Awesome. And I'll give you more of an investor perspective, Spencer. But I'm long, less concerned about the timing, but more so long because I've got a super long time horizon on my investing. My thesis has always been, average myself in as the market sells off and just keep bringing that cost basis down. And money is so cheap to borrow right now. I think I pay something like 1.25% or a year or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And as the economy returns back to normal in the coming months, should stand to profit from that move higher.
So if you look at what is really up today, what's leading us higher, it is a bet on the return to normal. A lot of retail is up. Kohl's, I see Nordstrom, The Gap, L Brand, Simon Property. That's a REIT, but it's a retail REIT. Tapestry, all leading the market among the leaders today in terms of mid-cap stocks are up. So it seems like the market is betting on whenever we open back up that it will be a return back to normal relatively quickly as soon as the doors open.
The thing that I'll tell people to keep in mind, though, with these retail stocks is that they haven't reported earnings yet. So if you're buying these stocks, just keep in mind earnings are coming over the next 2-3 weeks. And we all know that anything can happen during earnings.
Yeah, that's definitely true. If you just looking at the calendar, who's due to report after the close today, not a big day today in terms of earnings. I see Keurig Dr. Pepper. I see NXPI is interesting. Not a ton though on the earnings front from after the close today. But Luke, we were talking before we hopped on here, and you had mentioned that you had made a couple of buys today, and I wanted to ask you about them.
Yeah, so you know, two different purchase opportunities, two different ideas or strategies there. The first one, ticker VSTO. They make outdoor equipment. This is one that I got sort of lucky catching around the open today. The company put out in a press release. The press release was actually about them getting a new CFO. But in that press release, they said that they will have better than expected EPS. They're going to have better EPS than they originally guided. It's not super often that I'm reading the news very closely, but I was sort of in that kick this morning where I was really just scanning through news hardcore. And whenever I do that, it seems like there's always one or two things a day that you can catch. So, I recommend people, if they haven't really, really read news closely before, take a couple days and try that, because there's very often some sort of diamonds in the rough that you can find. Like if you look at this stock, the open is right around where it closed on Friday, a little bit higher. And that's right after the company came out and said that they're going to have better EPS this quarter, and their report that's not too far away, about 2 weeks away. That's super material new information there.
And if I could just do a shameless plug for a second, this is also the benefit of a service like Benzinga Pro, where if you can't read to the bottom of every single press release, you don't have to, because there you see like there's a headline in there from 6:50 this morning that saying exactly what you just said, Luke.
That's exactly where I grabbed it from. Yep.
Right.
And I like the little up arrow there too, on next to the headline that says, hey, this is something to watch out for.
Good observation on that one too. When you have a stock that's opening higher, this closed at 956 on Friday, higher open. But once again, talking about the mark, talking about the close, 956. So anybody that had that short, that's where their P&L was marked. Or anybody looking to take a long there, your closing price 956 ended up being up 4 cents off the low of the day. You traded as high as 1036. This is a good volume day too. It traded looks like this thing averages 600,000 with 10 minutes going to session. We got over a million shares traded. Coming up on that 350 turn, which hasn't been as exciting as it has over the last week. We're actually going to have Jonathan Corpina on tomorrow to talk about how perhaps him and some of the other floor brokers from their homes are offsetting these imbalances. Strong up day in the market. A lot of times your imbalances go with the day trend here. Trending at the high of the session. We just printed 81 and a quarter, back down at 77. So could have some selling balances there from the pop and the drop. We did hit 81 and a quarter real quickly back at 75, 28.75 in a heartbeat. So we missed the high of the move, barely a little bit less than 4 points. And this Vista Outdoors, do they do a lot of the billboards and everything outside? Because it seems like when I'm driving, that I see like this space available by Vista Outdoors on the freeway, or do they do something else?
I don't know.
No, they do consumer products.
Okay.
And Luke, you had another idea that I wanted to get your thoughts on, or I want to ask you about.
So here's another idea that I think is interesting, and I haven't heard a ton of chatter about. But it's with these small community banks and some of the regional banks with the Small Business Association PPP loans. This is, as I like to call it, the free Trump bucks that companies are getting from the government. It's basically 2.5 times your monthly payroll. Small businesses less than, I believe it's 500 employees, can apply for. And you have to go through a bank to apply for the money, even though it comes from the government. I've talked to a lot of small business owners that had a really tough time with some of the larger banks, like a Bank of America or a Wells Fargo, just getting prioritized because they have such crazy volume of loans. In several of these people that I've talked to have been going to their small banks. They've been going to local credit unions or some of these smaller publicly traded community banks. This is anecdotal evidence, but I've heard a lot of stories of it, and I haven't seen it covered in a ton of places. So it could be an idea. In terms of individual stocks, I don't know the space inside and out with all the names. So I looked at Tim Melvin for this. That's actually a guest on your morning show, Joel, as you know.
Yep.
3 stocks that he likes right now are Alpha, Sandy, Romeo, Victor, Charlie, Bravo, India. And he's got one more, Papa Golf, November. So those are 3 ones that he said he likes. So I just bought a basket of those 3 stocks with a small allocation in each because I've got a thesis on the industry.
All right. Back in 28.74 here, after that 81.25, still looking out for these imbalances to come across. I did note
It was smaller today.
Yeah.
I saw 150 million to buy. It was small.
Yeah, they're not playing it. I did notice I like to keep an eye on, the top components, the S&P, and this rally's doing it without the big boys, folks. Microsoft down 43 cents, Apple flat, Amazon down $25, Google down $3, Facebook down $1.90. Big reversal in Facebook today. Got up to 193.75 and made a low at 187.41. Did we have any specific news on Facebook? No?
I didn't see any, but I saw a number of big reversals today. That was on my list to talk about. Also on my list, as far as reversals go, was Beyond Meat. You see the reversal on that thing?
It did get downgraded, correct? And
yeah, but the reaction was so delayed that
very delayed.
I don't know if this has anything to do with that.
I see it had the higher open with the market. I mean, rallied another $4. Did you run into a daily high anywhere? Or boom. I mean, you filled the gap. Now, no, really. I see a 118.20 high. Just a momentum. People shrugged off the downgrade, got a little bit too long, and then, boy, once you came back down to that opening price of 11.92. They flushed it all the way down to 97.50, but the stock has had a heck of a run. I mean, it's doubled since March, over doubled since its March 19th low of 48.18. And then also on the morning show, we talked about potential shortage of meat around the country. So maybe people don't want to go vegan, but they might not have a choice if we have a shortage of good old burgers and good things like that. Let's see, Spencer. We want to talk about NAT, and the Kramer boost just kept on going. The president, CEO of the company said, we're making a lot of money on Friday. They took that thing up in the after hours. You could still got in at the open, even though you had a higher open, only peeled back 9 cents. Poked up to 7.25 and still trying to close over $7. I don't know. This is a play where, as long as you have oil, places where they need to store it, I think you got to stick with the momentum on this one. And I think that's taking FRO along with it, correct? Yep. That's not having nearly as good a day.
And then you got EURN is the other one that I saw moving.
The tankers are moving. But overall, this one looks a little bit better from a longer term perspective.
Luke, did you have thoughts on Beyond Meat? I don't know if I've ever asked you about that stock before, but I feel like that's the kind of thing that you
Well, they had a couple news items. There was a positive Bloomberg article on the stock, but not really positive on the stock, more so covering the rally that came out over this weekend. So I imagine that's maybe what popped it in the morning, and then maybe it's hey, this thing is played out or the cat's out of the bag. And then you also had Yum China. KFC is going to be testing meatless options, and they are not using Beyond Meat as their provider for their meatless options in China. So that could have been a negative on the day.
All right, a couple minutes left here in the session. Let's get to some tickers from the chat. Akash is asking about Google, or Google without the L. I'll pull up the GOOG chart. I've now looked at this one here for a couple of days. I imagine it's moving with the rest of big tech, though.
Yeah. When do they report?
This week, yeah, they do report this week. I want to say Thursday. Let me confirm that real quick before
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow? Okay, yeah.
After the close.
Facebook and Amazon are on Thursday, right? Google is tomorrow after the close.
I mean, it's banging on the door here, and it's been doing that for quite some time. I would say multiple highs, just under 1,300. I can look at all the highs. I'd say going back to April 14th, you've had all your highs between 1274 and 1294. So trying to break out. I think people are just a little bit nervous here, perhaps ahead of earnings. I know they did cut their advertising budget yet, but man, oh man, this is just bunching up at the high of the move. I don't, as far as the retracement goes, it's going to be a little bit tougher. 1530 down to let's call it a 500-point move, 250 right there. You're right. You're 50%. I'd say if they could get this thing, they like the print. They get this thing over 1,300. I think it's got some room to go on the upside. Nice rally, bunching up near the highs of the move.
Yeah, and some insight I'll give on this one too, coming from someone who runs a media site. We've seen traffic and thus ad impressions skyrocket over these past couple months, but the revenue per ad or the demand for advertisers to buy ad space has definitely seen a pretty significant sell-off, to the point where it's netted us about even. So just a little bit of insight into that report tomorrow.
Right, and if Google is saying that they're cutting their ad budget, Google is the largest digital advertiser, so that you would assume that everyone else is doing less ads as well, which goes to your point, Luke. A higher ad impression count does not equal plus a lower ad rate does not equal higher ad revenue. So anybody who relies on digital ad revenue for their business, I think, would be in trouble here. Google, Facebook, Snap, Twitter, etc. All right, couple minutes left here, heading into the close. Looking ahead to tomorrow's calendar, more of a consumer staples kind of day on the earnings front. 3M is reporting, Pepsi, some healthcare names. I see Merck and Pfizer on the calendar as well. Not a super exciting day tomorrow morning. Caterpillar as well reports. The real excitement starts tomorrow afternoon with Google, and then later in the week we get Tesla, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, et cetera, et cetera.
Big week.
Yeah, big week for earnings here. Joel, under a minute left in the main session here. Any final thoughts on today's session, today's market?
Well, it went from bliss to looks like we're going to miss that all-time closing high of the move. Not really anything to do with unbalances. We got within 4 3/4 points of that 28.85, and we're now back under 28.70. So I don't know if a little nervousness here ahead of the Google earnings, but did not like that elevation up there. Did not like getting up there to 28.81.85. So if you're trading overnight, depending on what numbers you see out of the big boys here, 81 1/4, 28.85. Those represent the two highs for the move. I think we can sneak above 28.70 for the close here and post a new closing high for the move. But a little profit taking going into the close here and at the high of the move. So congratulations, people, the bulls that have rode it up to this point.
Yeah, the bulls have won so far. Bulls have won for the past few weeks, but I'm not sure how much more this can continue. But what do I know? I am just one person. All right.
You're just a radio show host.
Yep, exactly. All right. For Luke Jacobi and Joel Elconin, I'm Spencer Israel. Thanks to everyone who joined us today. Please remember, all the information from our broadcast is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Everyone have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning.